But Rahul, India. Oh, yeah. Jesse on fire. What's up, Jesse? I saw your video, by the way, buddy. Bisping, I may or may not have shown a pic of your haircut to my barber. I've been like, do that. So now you know you're the second best looking in the game with that haircut. Jesse on fire. If you don't follow Jesse on fire, give him a follow. He's got a great page and he breaks down some good stuff and he's got a lot of funny takes and whatnot. And Jesse, thanks, buddy. I appreciate that, my man.
All right, Jesse on fire. Welcome back to the channel. Now, that was Michael Bisping on his live stream yesterday. So I did a super chat just to double check that he was watching my videos, and he is. Look at that. Look at that. I told you guys. I told you. But anyway, that was a big moment. That was like a I made it moment right there. I was like, all right, well, if I needed an indicator that this is working, that was it. So thank you, Michael Bisping, and thank you everybody who supported me along the way. Okay, so I'm about to jump on a flight, so I need to knock this video out. And I wanted to get this up because I'm not going to be able to post for a couple days potentially. So here's the deal. I want to talk about Nick Diaz and specifically where he goes from here, because what prompted this video was I spoke to Cesar Gracie night before the fight. So Friday night, I spoke to Cesar. I got the skinny on all this stuff about Nick, like why they moved the fight to 85, the sparring video, all that, and I'll tell you guys about that in this video. And so after the fight, like this morning, I was texting him. I was like, look, I don't know what Nick's plans are, but strategically, here's what I would do if these are his goals. And it ended up being a text message that was this long. I'm like, I'm not sending this to him, dude. He'll take one look at the length of that thing and just go, okay, this guy's crazy. So instead, I'm going to do this video. I'm going to send the video to him. But anyway, yeah, so I guess before we talk about the fight, let me just say this. Okay, so what happened, what Cesar said is that there's no footage of Nick getting knocked out in sparring, that the video that they're talking about is not Nick. And just so we're clear, Cesar was Nick's cornerman yesterday. So it's not like, he's not like disconnected from Nick Diaz's fight career. He was literally leading the corner yesterday. And he said that there's no sparring footage of Nick getting knocked out, that the footage that they're talking about was some 135 pounder in a headgear. So, but look, I haven't seen the footage. I have no idea. I mean, I'm not just going to say that both John McCarthy and Josh Thompson would mistake someone for Nick Diaz, and then I have no, you know what I mean? I don't know. But Cesar directly said, he's like, there's no, that footage does not exist. And then the 185 pound thing, basically, so Nick has had this huge fine hanging over his head since 2015. So he was going to get cracked for 75 grand out of his purse on this fight. And, basically, they weren't happy that he was out. I mean, they're obviously not happy he's having to pay a $75,000 fine for something that happened that many years ago, which is not even illegal anymore. And, ultimately, the stakes of the fight being what they were, Cesar said he made the call, and he was like, I'm not going to make my fighter cut all that weight when he's going to have to give up 75 grand of his purse. There's no, like, why put him through that? Why put him through that to fight Robbie Lawler with no, there's no, like, if he wins this, then that. He's like, I just said that I knew they were going to accept the terms, so we just threw it out and we did it at 85. And, I think if I'm going to speculate, right? If I'm going to speculate after watching the fight last night, first of all, Nick, you could just see it was like, at least how I interpreted it was like the first 20 seconds of that fight, it was almost like Nick couldn't even believe he was in there. And then instincts took over, and he was just going like he always did. And, I think Jake Shields basically validated that Nick only trained for 6 weeks. So what Cesar did not say to me that I'm going to speculate on now is that, dude, Cesar is a stone professional. He's been managing fighters for 100 million years. You know what I mean? And I would guess that in hindsight, what he was looking at was like Nick is not fully, this wasn't a full camp, right? Like Nick, if he has to cut all this weight, not fully prepared, it's not going to be good for him. I think what we saw right there was not a fully formed Nick Diaz. I think that, if Nick had a longer period to train, I think it would have been, maybe a better performance or whatnot. But he performed well. Did he land at 100 something? I think he landed 120 head strikes. And that's the thing that was really funny is people were texting me and messaging me. They're like, why are these guys punching so slow? I was like, have you never seen a Nick Diaz fight? This is, I mean, maybe a little bit slower than before, but not by a whole lot. This is what Nick does. He just stands in front of you and volumes you to death. Like he's just gonna throw and throw and throw, and he's just accurate. Boom, boom, boom. He's not trying to He's not trying to do that. Like, I mean, obviously he can throw full throttle. He's trying to endurance you and volume you to death. And I had a fucking blast watching that fight. I really did. I thought it was super fun to watch. But here's the thing. Okay, so the more important thing is everybody saw this fight. So what do you do with Nick now, right? Like, what do you do with him now? So what I was typing out, Caesar, was obviously if you're going to strategize about anything, you need to know what your objectives are, right? And so if Nick's objective is to continue and fight in the UFC, his primary objective is to do a comeback in the UFC, the correct play is to publicly say, I did not have time to prep for this fight. Like I didn't have time to properly prep for this fight, because honestly, I mean, the whole thing is like, if you can't beat Robbie Lawler, it's hard to sell that you're going to make any kind of meaningful run. But I think everybody kind of knows that Nick wasn't actually fully prepared for this fight. And so you immediately publicly say that. You go, look, I didn't have proper time to prep. You give me 3-4 months to prep for a fight. You're going to see someone who can keep that volume up for 5 straight rounds. That's going to be better prepared to eat body shots, whatever. Like, but that's the publicity that you give. And because all you're doing is you're just selling your next fight. You're just selling your next fight, right? This time I'll be, yada, yada, right? But if Nick's objective is to make as much money as possible before he retires, right? If that's what his actual prime objective is, then I think that they should build a social media campaign and just publicly say the UFC needs to release Nick from his contract. Because look, Nick can go make big money right now. Like Nick could go fight Logan Paul, Nick could go fight Jake Paul, and he'll make a lot of dough. Dude, I just heard Michael Bisping say that Malky told him that Woodley, if the pay-per-view numbers came in with whatever. I've heard a bunch of different things about the pay-per-view numbers. I heard they sold as few as 150,000 pay-per-views, but that came from Chael, which could just be, UFC propaganda, who knows. And I heard that they did like the second biggest pay-per-view of the year or something. So like, I don't know, but Bisping said yesterday on his show that from Malky that Woodley stood to make $7 million, $7 million, okay, for a boxing match against Jake Paul. So if you give if Nick Diaz has a payday like that hanging out there for him, given what that guy has done for the sport, it's almost unethical to not release him from his contract and let him go get that money. Like, I know you don't want to blow air into this like boxing Jake Paul thing. It's kind of competition, but not really. I understand that. But at a certain point, you have to be concerned about what the consumer thinks. And if enough consumers are like, this is wrong. Like what's Nick, basically the campaign that you build is like, what's Nick going to do in the UFC? You're just going to hold this guy down. This guy lost his whole life to this sport, gave every single thing he had to this sport, got suspended for 5 years for weed. Like, no organizational support for him. It's not like they went and lobbied for him with the committee. They're just kind of like, yeah, you got a 5-year suspension, whatever. And that's fine. But to lock him down now and not allow him to go get a payday like that just because you don't really want to help the Jake Paul thing, dude, come on, man. Like, here's the thing. Like, I talk a lot about Francis on here, and if it's Francis, and Francis like, I want to go box Tyson Fury and I want to make $30 million for it or whatever, and it's like, why is the UFC holding me back from doing that? That's something very different, because Ngannou is in his prime UFC asset, and he's a UFC asset that they built, right? Like he has to win the fights and all that, but UFC had a tremendous hand in building what is Francis Ngannou. And he has longevity where he could really make a huge impact at another organization. So it's very reasonable for the UFC to do whatever they can to try to hold on to and lock down Francis. With Nick, that is not the case. On Nick's huge run, he was outside the UFC. Now, he did a lot for the UFC. He did a big run outside the UFC. And right now, honestly, like, where's this huge payday going to come from inside the UFC? So you could hold Nick down and just lock him down for like the next 2 years until he really is done? or you can do the right thing like they did for Anderson Silva, because they did this for Anderson Silva, and just release him. Just let him go, dude. Just let him go. Is what Anderson Silva doing now, is that impacting the UFC negatively at all? Nick Diaz would be exactly the same. It would have no negative impact on the UFC at all. And that's what they should do. That's what they should do. Let him go get that money, dude. Like, let Nick go get that money. I mean, it just seems like the right thing. And I think Dana would do it if he really thought about it. Like, if someone asked, you know? Like, if someone asked, I can't see Dana publicly being like, no, we're holding Nick down. Like, we're just going to hold on to Nick Diaz. Like, this guy who's gotten the shit kicked out of him, not in the ring, but like just in his fight career, he's got fucked harder than any other person, dude. He didn't have back-end pay-per-view last night. How many more pay-per-views got sold last night because Nick Diaz was on that card than not? He got no back-end. He had not a single dollar from pay-per-view buys, and he was driving them. I mean, dude, it's like, which is also, I mean, I'm not throwing rocks at the UFC for that either. I'm just saying, just let him go make his money, man. Like, he's fucking earned it. He's earned it. It would be, if he asks for his release, they should give it to him. And that's what I think he should do. I think he should ask for his release. And not because I think he can't compete. I think he can get more prepared and then go compete. But if I'm him, I'm just looking to make as much money as possible over the next 2 years. And if that's the case, this is a no-brainer. That's what you go do, is you ask for your release and then you go fight Jake Paul or Logan Paul. And then you have your brother help hype the fight with you, and like you make it into a whole thing, dude. Diaz brothers versus Paul brothers, be unreal, you know? But anyway, that's what I got. So good job, everybody involved. Last night was incredible. Brian Ortega's jiu-jitsu is absolutely insane. It's so good, dude. Oh my gosh. And Volkanovski is unreal. How do you beat that guy? I mean, it looked like Ortega had him beat. But, man, that was unbelievable. Unreal. Ortega was done after the third round. He couldn't even respond. And then he fights like that in the next 2 rounds. It's like,